Hey guys, welcome back to the Best Wood Carving channel. Today we're going to work on a simple beginner project for you, and it's these little ladybugs. You've probably seen them in the thumbnail of the video. So let's get started. Alright, so I just went out and I just found some scrap blocks in my little scrap can that I have out in the garage. And I thought, well, let's find something that anybody can find in their house, or just having a piece of scrap basswood from maybe some blocks you cut out or whatever. So it's pretty much square, and it's not even perfectly square thickness wise. So, you know, some of them are different. This one was a little thicker, so it was a little higher. This one was just a little bigger block, and this one was pretty much square. But so we're just going to take, when we could take this, we could draw it out and carve that out. And here's another piece, okay, and then here's a piece. So just pretty much you can make it any size you want. The techniques are pretty much the same, whether you're doing a little ladybug or a bigger ladybug. And the other thing you can do with them is like I did here. I got these little round magnets, and they're adhesive on one side, so you could stick it right on your refrigerator. When my wife seen them, she was like, "Oh, I want this for my refrigerator." You know, so we're going to take this little scrap of wood and we're going to turn it into one of these ladybugs. Pretty simple course for beginners. If you just started carving, you know, you can carve this thing pretty easy. So make sure you got your safety glove on. I know all the carvers on YouTube say that, and then most of them don't wear a safety glove. But, you know, it is hard for you to see the wood that we're working with when our gloves are in the way too. So it just, you know, it's our risk that we take when we're making a video. So I kind of drew this one out for you. Let's see if you can see that. I kind of drew this one out, but I'm going to, how I would do it. But I noticed that like my block of wood is not flat. So if I want this to sit on a shelf or even have a magnet on it so it's flat, I need to keep that part down. So we're basically going to take this and we're going to draw this on this curved up spot here, because it's not really going to matter. We're going to carve most of it away anyway. Okay, so I already have my center lines, but you can put your center lines in, and that'll give you a guidance point, because when I start to carve this, I'm going to want to leave this. This is going to be my little slot where my wing separates. Okay, so we'll leave that as much as we can. Plus, we want that to be our high point of our carving. So we're going to carve from here down this way and make this thing symmetrical, or somewhat symmetrical, just like so. So put your center line in there, and it helps if you want to put a center line this way too. That way it'll help you draw your circle a little bit. And then after you've been carving for a while, you'll be able to pretty much learn how to use your finger and your pencil like this, and that way you can find your centers pretty easy. Okay, it's just a technique you'll develop the more carving you do. Okay, so what we're going to do now that we got our centers drawn on there, okay, we're going to take and come from here to this one, and we're going to make this one meet. Same thing here. Make it meet. Here. Make it meet. This way we get a little bit of carving off of all the edges and get to shape that thing kind of round. And don't worry about, you know, if it doesn't look perfect. I mean, I'm not an artist, so I can't, you know, freehand draw something perfect, but really I just want to get something that kind of shows me where a little bit of a guideline. Okay, and then you just go back and shape it out, reshape it out a little bit, but that's pretty much it right there. Now we're gonna round this thing right here, but what we're basically gonna do is make it round, but we're gonna still have a head up here. Okay, so don't worry too much about the head yet. There's a little technique we'll use that you'll be able to get the head. The main thing right now is we're just going to get this thing drawn out and start shaping it up a little bit, okay? So just drop your knife, get your knife sharp, and what we're going to do is we're going to take and carve this basically down to this line using paring cuts. Okay, and wow, this is a nice, good, solid piece of wood. All right, good and hard piece of wood. So this one's going to be some work. All right, so we're basically just going to use paring cuts and try to take that down real quick, get these corners off so it's a little easier to hold on to, and start getting our round shape. Now, this is where you'll start noticing which way your your best grain direction is as well, because once you start taking these corners off, you're going to find out that on these end grains, you know, that they're going to be a little tough to get off. Okay. Now, one of the things we can do is, and then we can soften this up a little bit on these ends because they're always kind of tough anyway. So we can soften these up, and what we do is we take a little bit of this here spray, and it's what it is. It's 50% water and 50% alcohol, rubbing alcohol. I use the 91%, just got a little higher alcohol content to it, and it kind of dries without too much cracking. But that's going to soften your wood if you've got a nice hard piece of wood, and it'll let it, once it gets soaked in there a little bit, and it'll just make it so much easier to get a good chunk off of there. Okay, on these end grains, because the end grains are always the toughest part to get through. So we're basically just using push cuts and paring cuts, moving your way around, and just take that dude straight down to the bottom. Get those rough corners off of there. Okay. Start rounding her out a little bit. Find out where your good cuts are. So if you just started carving, hope you'll subscribe to our channel. We're going to do some really, really simple projects for the beginner carvers out there. And I've been carving for about 2 years. I'm a member of a carving club, and I have a carving teacher as well. But with this COVID stuff going on, I haven't been able to get with my buddies at the carving club. So I kind of miss a bunch of those. I'm actually a member of 2 carving clubs because they meet twice a month. And in wintertime, I'm always looking for something, and it's a good time to go to your classes and do your clubs. I also take a class that has been going on for a long time in our vocational school, our local vocational school. So shout out to Bob and all my friends in carving class. Hope you guys are doing well. Getting through this, and pretty soon, I'm thinking after the election, we'll all be back together soon. Alright, so we're just going to keep working this thing down, getting all the rough spots, and I'm just taking little chunks at a time because I am working with a little small block of wood here, so I can't go getting crazy and start hacking away, and before you know it, I got a nice slice in my finger, especially on this piece of wood. If you're new to carving and you're new to basswood, you'll find out there's some soft basswood and there's some hard basswood. They say the northern basswood is the softest, and I guess it has a smaller grain, so it makes it a little easier to carve. But I've went to my local woodcraft store and bought some boxes of scraps, or just boxes of various pieces, and they were some pretty hard blocks of wood. There's a couple sources for wood, and I think we'll probably do a video on some sources for wood. But I know all the guys at our carving clubs, they really like Heineke wood, and they have a website. You can look them up. Heineke wood. Maybe we'll put a link in the description, and you can get good basswood from them. Everybody just says they got the best wood for carving. So yeah, check them out. Alright, so that kind of helped me. Having it on the bottom too gives me a little bit of an idea at the bottom, because I'm going to keep that. I don't want to get that too small down there either. I want it, my ladybug's going to flare out at the bottom. Okay, and we don't have to be perfect, because we're going to start taking it down the other way here in a minute. But just roughing around the shape. So there we go. We're going to start with that. Okay, so now we got our shape, pretty much our shape, and we don't have to be perfect, because we're going to get it down here. Most of this we're going to take away anyway, so it doesn't have to be perfect. Just get your corners off and start getting your shape going and working to your line that you drew. And then once we're here, now we're going to go from the center line down to the bottom. All right, so we want to take off this top edge here. So we're going to start, and then you can see if you dig in and your knife just kind of not wants to go through there, you're probably going through the wrong grain. Okay, even on a hard piece of wood, you know, you're really going to notice that grain the most. Okay, so basically I'm just going to work my way around with little push cuts, and if you can see, it just chunked off right there on the top, and that's fine. That tells me right away which way my grain is and which way I need to be carving. All right, and one of the beginner techniques you're going to learn is how to switch, you know, and clean something up that chucks away like that. That's what we call it. And once you know that, that's where the grain is, you'll see, you know, you can just go back the opposite way, flip your piece around and work your way, clean that right back up. You know, what really sucks is like right there, when your grain's going one way and you turn it around, your other end of your grain is chucking off. So you got to keep flipping it around and just keep working it out. And like I said, we're working on a little small piece here, so we're not going to be taking big old chunks, because the risk is a little higher of putting a big old gash in my hand if I'm chucking away really hard on a little tiny piece of wood. So we're just going to keep working this back to the center on both sides. And if you hear the dogs barking, I got my studios downstairs, so my dogs, my guard dogs, bark at about anything that moves outside, which is a good thing, I guess, but not when you're trying to film a video. But so we're just going to keep working this back to our center. And the center line is really no big deal because I'm gonna eventually cut that off anyway. And once I shape this down a little bit, I'll be able to put that line right back in there. Alright, so this is what we're getting to. I'm just chipping it away, making it a little rounded. And up here where the head's gonna be, there again, I'm not really worried about getting it perfectly round. Spend as much time as you want on it, shaping it. Look at it from different angles. It always helps when you're working something is to turn and look at it different directions. And basically I just want a little symmetry. So it all kind of looks the same. Marking it down. Hope everybody's doing good during this crazy pandemic. Got a little fast there, got a little nick. Might end up having to change the thumbnail to Carving Guy Cuts Himself. That'd be some clickbait, wouldn't it? Alright, so we're getting her cut down here. Still got can still kind of see my center line right here. And like I said, you can spend as much time as you want on it. I'm going to kind of go, for the sake of not having a long video, I'm just going to kind of get you through the right ideas. Because I would normally work on it myself for a little bit of time, just looking at it, going over it again and again and again, just making sure everything's looking correct. Okay. So also when you're learning how to carve, you're going to want to kind of be obsessive about all these flat spots, but don't worry about it. I was kind of like, when I first started, was like, oh gosh, I got to take all these flat spots out, make it perfectly round. But with caricature carving is what we do pretty much in my carving club. I mean, we do stuff where we want to really do some nice detail work and get all the rough spots out. But when you're first learning, you can focus on just flat plane carving, and that's an art in itself, just being able to leave those in there so they look good and even. And that kind of gives it its uniqueness. That's the thing about carving. It's pretty cool, is that, you know, even when you mess up, it could still be all right. You can always take off more wood usually, unless you get down to where you take off too much of a chunk. Alright, so we pretty much got that kind of rounded out. It's getting a little hard to hold on to. So now what we're going to do is we're going to put that line back in there because we want to create a little shadow to make it look like the wings are raised off of the back. And with that technique, just doing a V cut pretty much is what it is. A V cut all the way down that line is going to give me my wings separation. Okay, now we also want to figure out where our head's going to be at this point. All right, so I kind of like the way this looks, and it's a little more narrow back here in the back, kind of like the back of the wings. So, you know, that's probably going to be the head. It's a little high spot right there. Take that down a little bit. Okay, so I'll put my line back in there again, where I can kind of see it. And I left my little tip, my little center line right there, so I can come back up to it. And then down the center of the back. And this doesn't have to be perfect. All right, so that's where we're at. We got that. Now, like I said, I want to determine which end is my head. I kind of like this as the tail back here because it's a little oval. All right, so we're going to make the head right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back probably about a ½ inch or so, and I'm just going to pencil in a little half circle right here. Get that looking the same on both sides, because I don't want to cut my V cut all the way down to the tip, because I don't want that to go through the head. So I'm kind of marking my head off right here. This is the back section of it right there. So now I know that my V cut's going to go right down the center from there back. All right, so if you got a V tool, you can use your V tool and pretty much notch this thing down. If not, you can just make a V cut. If you haven't learned out what a V cut is yet, go ahead and check out our 5 basic cuts to wood carving video on YouTube as well. All right, so take our V tool. And if I don't have a V tool, I'll show you in just a second how we can do that too with just a knife. All right, so on these end grains, make sure you keep your hand below. All right, so using my V tool, I just cut this starting point out right here. All right, and these are just flex cut V tools. It was a mini set. I think it had 4 V tools in it. Actually, I think it's got a U tool and two V tools, 2 U tools that are different sizes. I think that was around, I want to say like $40 or so for the set, $35, something like that. They're really good because they have small little V's that you can work some detail in. But okay, all right. So, but if I want to use my knife, which I'm going to anyway, because I always like to come back with the knife and just cut that in. It gives me a paint line that helps me keep my paint from running. And just come back with a little V cut. Clean that out. Okay. We'll come back and do some more cleanup on it in a second. But it's really pretty much just to give me that, let me see how that wing's going to fit on there with the head. All right. So now I'm going to come back and I'm going to cut my head. All right, so first thing I'm going to do is put a stop cut at the corner of my head. A little stop cut. And I'll come over here, same thing. Stop cut. And I'm coming in from the head to the body this direction. So you know, if I want to get and we'll go back and get the rest of it out and round that down a little bit, blend it in. Okay, so just a simple little V cut to the head, and now I'm going to bring join these two together. Just like so. There again, it don't have to be perfect. You're just doing a beginning project here. All right, now I'm going to come back and bring that down. Separate the head from the body. Okay. Come that in. And now you can start shaping her up and getting her looking a little better. All the way around, separating that head and body. Okay. This is a simple little carve. You can spend as much time on it as you want. All right, so now I want to create a little depth right here where my wing goes down in. So I stick my knife down in there, and then I'm going to do a little triangle cut right there. There. Okay, same thing here. A little triangle cut. Down in. Take that little chip out. Okay. Just kind of makes that part of the body. I guess that's technically not the head yet. Guess I can't remember from biology class what that part of the section of the body is. And some insects, they have 3 sections in their bodies. I don't remember that from biology class. Somebody can put that in the comments if they want. I think that this is the thorax right here, if I'm not mistaken. All right, so now I can come back here and spend time, clean these up. I can actually even come back here and put a little V-cut right there. Roll this in. Give it a little more depth. Round this in so it looks more like the wings are separated and symmetrical. I mean, get it how you like it. You know, I'm sure you'll want to spend a lot more time on it and make it look perfect. That's cool. It's your carving. Do what you want. I was just sitting around with some scraps and was like, what can I do that's simple? Simple for somebody to learn that somebody on YouTube hasn't already done. So came up with the ladybug. All right, so there we go. We got the shape pretty well laid out. Got that part of the body. Now we're going to put the little head in there. As you can see, like I did, there's two little sections right here. So if you, basically what I did was I pulled up a ladybug on Google Images to see what one looked like kind of close up. Because you see ladybugs and you wouldn't think this little part was on there. Well, like if you see a cartoon ladybug or something like that. And that's another thing. We didn't do the legs on these. I mean, if you wanted to, you could make some little legs and glue them on or whatever. But these were just kind of some quick little carves. And a lot of times when you see a ladybug laying on a plant, like I know out in my garden, I've seen them on my plants before, and then I'll see them once in a while in the house. I'll see a ladybug or two. You can't really see their legs because they're kind of sitting on them, underneath of them. So, you know, don't worry about the legs. This is, like I said, this is just a quick little carve, especially for a beginner to want to carve something. Okay, so we're going to take, and now we're going to draw this little head right here. And this, I believe, is actually the head. So we drew that on there. And now what we're going to do is basically the same thing we did right here. We're going to come around it with a knife. Coming in. Make a deep little cut right there. All right, and then we're going to cut down to that. And this is the end grain, so it's going to be a little tougher. Just be careful. You don't want to chuck all the way through and chuck his head off. And you don't even really need a lot. It just needs to have to protrude out from the body part. Just want to separate it and make it stand out just a little bit. That's all. I cut a little deeper right there at the base. I can make it even look like it's protruding out more by giving it that depth. So take a look at it again. See, it's almost, if you look at the Google image, it's more almost like a triangle right there at the head. So if you can get that little triangle look. But you play with it. Get what you like. This is just a little simple project. Now we're going to round this little sharp edge off right here and get the pencil marks off. And like I said, if you can find some rubbing alcohol somewhere, which I don't know, it's been kind of hard to find lately. In the dollar store, it's almost like it's gone as soon as it comes in. I got a stupid fly flying around. Okay, so there we go. I'm not going to paint this one. I mean, you guys can paint on your own. I pretty much suck at painting, I think. I have to get a lot better at my painting, because I got 4 cowboys done, completely done, that I haven't painted yet, because I'm afraid that I'm going to mess them up. But one thing I did that I can tell you is I first put these dots on this orange one. I first put these dots on this orange one with a Sharpie. And then I went back and sprayed that thing with a clear lacquer, kind of a matte finish lacquer to protect the paint. And the Sharpie marks ran. So definitely use paint if you're going to put any kind of finish on top of that. Use the acrylic paints. And there. Cut. Okay, so we're back. I had to take a little break for a second. The mailman showed up and the dogs decided to go crazy. And they're still probably going to go crazy for a minute. But yeah, so go back and shape your carving up a little bit to your liking. You got 3 sections. You got your wings, and basically we just used easy cuts. Basically easy cuts, and paint them up how you like them. Pull them up on Google Images or Pinterest and look at some of the ladybugs on there and see what you like to do to yours. I did mine a little different. I put a little black line on this one. Like I said, I'm not the best painter yet. I did use a little bit of a wash solution, but I didn't want it really watered down because I wanted to be able to see good on the video. So I think my orange one turned out the best. I like it the best, but my wife likes them all. So if she's happy and she likes them on the refrigerator, now she'll have 4. Basically, I got a sheet of magnets from Amazon. I think it was like 100 magnets on a sheet for like $10. And it's adhesive on one side, and you just stick it on the center, and they should stick on the refrigerator. So if you're new to wood carving, I hope you enjoy the channel. I'm going to try to have more of these beginner projects, and then we'll do a little more advanced projects for more advanced carvers. And I'm going to try to do things that other carvers ain't done out there. There's a lot of good carvers on and we're going to do a video on all the carvers on YouTube that I like to watch anyway, just in case you're just new to carving and wood carving. And I found some carvers on there that didn't show up in the search engines when I searched for them, you know. So I'll put some links up on a video of the carvers that I like to watch. Of course, if you've been watching, you know Doug Outside. He used to be, now he's Doug Linker. He does some really cool, fun projects. I've done about every one of his projects. And then we got Gene Messer, who's like the grand master of wood carving, I would say. He's actually the one that kind of encouraged me to start putting up some videos and trying my hand at it. So I'm kind of new to videos. I'm kind of new to wood carving, and hopefully together, you know, we'll grow a good channel and have you guys learning some and maybe starting your own wood carving channel. Because I just like to carve and do projects that other carvers have done. Some, I guess, more experienced carvers kind of frown on that, but I think when you're learning, you're always looking for ideas of what can I carve, I don't know what to carve. And then when you start doing some of these other carvers videos, you'll get your techniques better, and they're fun, and you know, you'll have more things for your shelf. So when your family and friends come over and say, wow, did you carve that? And you can say, yeah, I carved it, you know. And most of those people have never seen it, so they think it's cool. Not really that you're kind of plagiarizing a wood carver, but you know, you can make your carving a little different than theirs, you know, but you can start off with the same kind of ideas. You can make your ladybug look a little different than mine, you know. It's just a fast little project that's fun, and like I said, I try to do something different than everybody else, and hopefully you'll get your carving skills up. You'll enjoy wood carving. You'll get with a carving club, you know, or two in your area. You know, if you get on the internet and search it up, you'll find carving clubs in your area, I'm sure, or at least close. Like I said, right now with the COVID, nobody's able to meet or anything, so it's kind of good to have carvers on YouTube that I can sit and carve with in my chair. As this table is not usually where I carve, I'm just carving here for the video because it's easier to see and I can get better lighting and everything. But I usually just like to sit in my easy chair and carve while I'm watching the video on YouTube. So there it is, guys. That's the Ladybug. It's a nice, simple little carve for beginners. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you subscribe to the channel. Hope you like it.